Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Guns of Navarone, RMP, Troy Shuka, Bose Nail, Justin Duso, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Owen Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to raise the mic on whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Gonna listen in and pop in where I can. Hey, Flatwood.
Hey, how's it going?
Elijah.
Hey, what's up? Is that Redman over there?
Yeah, did you get my my pictures that I've been putting in your DMs?
Oh, nah, man, you got some new stuff?
Yeah, I'll put it to you right now.
All right, cool. I'll check them out when I can.
There you go.
I will be with you shortly. I'm just setting up. I won't be long.
It's no problem.
Man, I'm enjoying this rain. It's been so hot here the last few days.
Yeah, because what I did was took a couple of pictures and I changed the color contrast on them, so now they look different, and you can see the the apparent horizon behind the mountain. Yet the mountain itself is 1,600 feet high. You still there, Ryan?
What was that, Redman?
I said, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm always here. got a 3-year-old that just decided to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and having to deal with her and a whole bunch of other stuff at the same time.
Oh yeah, fun times. I remember those days.
A lot of fun though.
Yeah, I got one. He's about to graduate high school, and
Nice.
he's getting a 4-year, $20,000 a year for a ride to college.
Very cool.
Yeah, he's doing good.
Yeah, my little sweetheart, she's got Downs, so she's a little bit. I mean, she's. It's not like a heavy, heavy Down. I don't know how else you put it. But she's got a. I guess I would call it a mild case. She's pretty smart, but yeah, she's a. Those beings, man, they're a vision of God. They're just the sweetest little people I've ever come across.
Oh yeah.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's up, Neil?
How's everything in Flat World?
Very stationary. You can see it's end of the year now. No one's really in the mood for work.
I just got stuck in an elevator. I'm going back in. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, it's a good job you're keeping the conversation plodding along, you lot.
Sorry. Working around with the kids at the moment, so it's a bit difficult.
Bloody talk.
Well, what can we talk about? The Earth is definitely flat, and we've got no globus to contend against it.
They come and go. I'm sure they'll come in for some reason or another.
Hey, Anthony, how's it going?
Hey.
So sleeping.
John D sent me his latest summary before he's gonna post it. It's quite good.
Who?
Dr. John D.
Oh, Dr. John D. Yeah.
This
Good
number
morning.
3 is... Good morning. Now, number 3 is actually very good, to the point. I love it.
Nathan, are we recording?
Yes.
I've got some interesting evidence, which I'm not sure whether I should do it now or in the show, but it's the evidence where they retrospectively changed something. So historically, we've done something on your show where we've gone over a definition, and then when I go to that definition today, they've fucking changed it. Should I do it now or should I wait till the show?
Go ahead. Could do it now.
Okay. I'll have to screen share. It'll take a few minutes of presenting it, so just bear with me while I do it. Right, share this now. So share that. Okay, this is pretty cool. So let me just get rid of all these tabs because they don't need to be open. I just want the tab that I want, which would be these two. Okay, so back in the day, right, so I did obviously the relative density arguments, hot topic at the minute with my most recent video. This is a video that was taken 6 months before I did the egg test. I did the egg test in the summer of 2019. This is done in October of 18, so it's 6 months before. And essentially, this is where I got the idea from. And basically what this is a back and forth with the rumpus. And I'm talking about this definition on screen, neutral buoyancy. And as you can see, it literally says, a condition which a physical body's average density is equal to the density of the fluid in which it is immersed. Now, in this hangout that we've got of Nathan's, Rumpus is arguing that it's weight. Now, he's not arguing that it's density. Now, in the definition, it clearly says density, not weight. Rumpus won't have density. He's insistent that it's weight, and he won't let me explain why he's wrong. And it's obviously because he needs weight, because he needs the force of gravity. And it doesn't say weight, it says density. I'm trying to get the point across. Nathan's realizing there's a point to this. He stops Rumpus from talking and over-talking because Rumpus does not want this point to be heard. And in the end, he mutes Rumpus, and I get my point out. And the point I make is that density is all it is. It's not density plus gravity, because that would be weight. It's just density. Now, this goes across, and Rumpus gets. This goes on for some time, right at the end, and Rumpus loses his temper, and Nathan eventually kicks him. But what I want to show you is this. My point was in this, that the Rumpus has to add weight because he needs the acceleration due to gravity, right? And we know gravity is not a force. Watch this. Neutral buoyancy. So I'm making the expressed point in that video back in 2018 that it doesn't mention anything about gravity. But now when you look at it, it says neutral buoyancy occurs when an object's average density is equal to the density of the fluid in which it is immersed. Now that's where it stops here. Equal to the density of the fluid in which it is immersed. In this hangout, I say there's no gravity there, but now it says resulting in the buoyant force balancing the force of gravity that would otherwise cause the object to sink. So now they've made it into a net force, whereas before it wasn't a net force, it was just density and relative density, and that obviously was where the spawning of the idea of the egg test came from. But back then, they didn't mention gravity at all. It wasn't in there. So the reality is, like, now that you look in it, it's the first thing you find when you look it up. So it's like they've gone back and changed it again to make it look like to a newbie that comes to it that, yeah, neutral buoyancy takes into account gravity. But back when we talked about it, it didn't.
They've done this so many times before. I remember with that Pickard guy also. It was last year, or Red Bull actually showed it off after they were saying he saw upturn edges and stuff, and then they changed it in Wiki.
Yeah, they do it all the time. We've seen it a few times. But if you're a newbie and you go to it and you're not aware of those topics or those arguing points back in the day, you'll just think that gravity is now still a thing. It'll not be obvious to you that it's not.
And just walk right past the situation. No, okay.
That was the job of the guy in 1984, though, wasn't it? Stuffing things down the memory hole.
Yeah.
Remember when it used to just be gravity?
Yeah.
But what's a force?
Well, it depends on how you define it. It's like by definition, some of the definitions say it's a physical interaction, a push or a pull. So me pushing you, that would be the force. Me pushing you. But other ones don't say it's a physical interaction. They just say it's an interaction. So it's one of those woolly phrases that doesn't seem to have a concise, universally accepted definition, and it depends on where you look.
So in other words, we just observe motion, but we don't observe forces, though.
We observe motion, but we don't really observe forces, no, because there are, like, pressure is something that you don't observe. If you see the balloon blowing up and you know that you're using the force in your lungs to push the air into the balloon and stretch the membrane, but you don't really see the force pushing against the thing because you can't see pressure, right? But does that make pressure a force? Of course it's a force, but you just don't see it. So it lacks the physical interaction bit. But is that enough for it to not be a force? It's a bit semantical, maybe, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know whether to me it doesn't. If it's pressure's pressure and it is a force, but you could argue that it lacks physical interaction, therefore doesn't satisfy the definition of force, depending on which definition of force you use.
And this is what is being covered currently by Dr. John D, right?
Yeah, I'm actually asking him now if he would mind joining to come and talk a bit about it.
The problem is it's going to get really quickly political, isn't it? Because because I saw his video, even though it was referencing energy, I just saw gravity all the way through it. So that puts a collision course straight up against Bob. Well, I'll message him, see if I can get him in.
Yeah, well, this attacks energy and force. That's what I was asking. What is a force? Because that debunks totally gravity due to the scientific method.
I know he's off work today, so he might be around. Says he's active now on Skype, so he could be. Sent him in the link. Nathan.
Yes.
Is it possible to, if I pin your comment on one of my videos, is it possible to remove the pinned status of the message that I choose to pin?
You can unpin it.
Yeah, but if it was your message, are you able to unpin it yourself, or does it have to be me?
I can delete the message and retype it out word for word and post it again, and that would unpin it.
No, that's so. Wolfie is my pinned comment at the moment on my latest video, and somehow the pin keeps getting removed, and I'm not sure if it's a YouTube issue or is it Wolfie somehow doing something to unpin it because he doesn't want it pinned. You see, now I keep pinning it, and it's like, how's this happening? What's going on here?
Just probably a little glitch. I wouldn't pay it too much attention.
No, but I've done it like 10 times. I pin it and then it gets unpinned. And it's like, it's not me unpinning it, but that indicates that it's him unpinning it somehow, and I don't know how he's doing it.
Oh, no, it
Clever
doesn't.
little bastard.
No, it doesn't indicate that.
Well, I'm pinning it, but not unpinning it, and it ends up being unpinned.
Well, it must be the unicorns, obviously.
Oh, it might be. I know what it is. It's the downwards acceleration.
Actually, Anthony, pinning is still a force, but you can't see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
you
must
know
be that
what,
downwards
Anthony?
acceleration.
You know what, Anthony? Did you do it at the really is level?
Yeah, that must be what it is. I must have done it at the not the really is level.
Yeah, algorithmic level.
Yeah. The question is, though, is Wolfie doing it somehow? Because it's clever if he is, the little shit.
No, not.
Why have they taken on this role?
What role?
You know, possibly deleting messages so that they don't remain pinned, getting sources to change definitions. Like, what? Why are they so invested in lying?
I know.
Read
Because
1984.
housekeeping questions go unanswered.
Read 1984. You're not looking for housekeeping, why they haven't answered. That's not what he's looking for, 10th. Just read 1984.
Oh.
No, my remark was overall they can't answer the housekeeping questions, so it's always something else.
A lie has to evolve. That's why they call it a web. One little strand will lead to another little strand to another little strand, and the bigger it gets, the more likely it is to collapse. So seeing little changes happening in the web of lies, that's par for the course as far as I'm concerned. Showing it is interesting, so I thank Sleeping Warrior for showing it us, because if there wasn't overt examples of it, people would say, no, you're just being silly. No, we're not. That's how the world operates.
Well, they don't hide anything from us, that's for sure. They let us know everything that's going on.
We watched it in real time with Google Earth. They made literal changes to it while we were studying it. We were broadcasting it, and then the following day, stuff would change. You're like, hang on, why is there now an Earth curve edge horizon bending between us and the Isle of Man? Why is it that we can't now look at it from the beach? Why is it that this particular... It's like, who's looking at the Isle of Man in Google other than us? Nobody. You know.
Or how about when Jared about SpaceX doing their landing?
Yeah.
The same picture, and then the next day come back and it's two different pictures.
Yeah, they edited it, and, you know, if it's live, I thought that was an outrage, personally. You know, if you've got something that's streamed live, to then have it... You can edit a live video, but then it doesn't show up as having streamed live 16 hours ago. You know, it doesn't give it the same status, because it isn't, it's edited. Now, you can edit anything, even if it's streamed live, but to edit it and have it appear as though that was the live broadcast, that's outright fraud, and just a downright lie.
Yeah, I don't know how they got away with that, man. I mean, I do, but
If you
Yeah, well,
keep,
remember they keep getting caught out lying, and they just seem to get away with it all the time. So they just carry on.
well, not necessarily getting away with it. What's getting away with it? People pointing it out and laughing at them isn't getting away with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, look at the majority are so blind to it, they don't realize it. That's what I say, they get away with it because the majority just doesn't realize what's happening.
No, the majority are walking around the matrix blissfully ignorant. Correct.
Well, this is the product of having smartphones and listening devices through your TV, because they know every region, every little place, what people are trending to, because they're listening. And then next thing you know, you look at something on Amazon or something, or do a search, and all of a sudden you get all these ads about that thing, and you never had it before.
Yep. Yeah, but they done messed up when they gave us actual numbers. 3959. They done messed up. I don't think they were expecting us to get to that. Because they tried to spin the black swan. They did, but I mean, no dice. If you ask me.
Say they
I
tried.
agree with you.
You say they tried
to. They're held to their 3959 radius, and everything must match that.
Say they tried to spin the black swan, but they really didn't. They fell into a trap. So as soon as they started claiming it's a refracted horizon, that was the end of their claim that the horizon's physical and blocks, boats and buildings with a measurable feet and inches or meters value. Well, that was the end of their argument. So while they predictably defended it with refraction, their refraction needs are in a physical horizon. So it wasn't like they even attempted to defend it. They were falling right into, or playing right into QE's hands in the way that the modus tollens argument was formulated. He knew what they would do next. So why do you think he used the one, given that there were several images from BLMSP 69 at that time, right? After the fact, after the Black Swan dropped 1st Jan 2020, people started going, well, what about this one? This one's a slightly clearer image. Why do you think QE used the one that wasn't? When there was plenty available, right? Why do you think he used the one that had bendy cranes? He intentionally used that one, didn't he? Why? Well, because he wanted them to say refraction. Because the moment they refract the horizon, their argument falls to pieces. Earth not a sphere, no physical obstruction. The moment they say that. So say refraction is what he wanted, and they did. So they weren't defending it, they were falling right into his trap.
Well, now that the black swan is birthday is coming up. Sorry for the wind. I think that what I would really like is what I call the Black Swan Part 2 to emerge. Because there's, I've talked about it often, the platform Grace, that's 19 miles out and you can see the horizon behind it. Like, I mean, I just want to hear them say, yeah, no problem. No?
Sorry, I was moving my mouse over something that Flatsoid's just given me to present.
So what are you saying again, Elijah?
That there's another video by BMLSB 69 where he's taken a long distance observation from well, I'm not exactly sure where it is. I don't want to say it's the same exact location, and it's not. But he's right off the rocks. He's 3 feet, and he catches platform Grace, which is 19 miles away, and the horizon is behind it. And then he goes to under a foot and can still see platform Grace with the horizon behind it.
Yeah,
and I just thought it was amazing.
It is,
Yeah, because Earth is flat.
Yeah, but we got a comment on that. Nobody claims Earth curve is horizon.
Flatsoid, I've got your comment presented.
Makes a lot of sense, eh?
Right, so a mirage, because I can see it, is suddenly physical, and we're being told that the horizon's a mirage, non-physical. So this is cognitive dissonance at its finest, isn't it? So yes, optical is physical. Oh, really? Well, why are we being told by your side that it's refracted? Non-physical. Moved into a non-physical location. Optically different to the physical location. Why would it be that we're told that by the globe side? Well, because we've debunked the physical nature of the horizon with the black swan. So now it's non-physical according to the globe side. Ending their argument because they need it to physically block stuff. Thanks, Flatsword. Good example.
Well, I got one for containment as well, if you wanted.
Maybe later. Come to it in housekeeping, obviously. It must be very painful for them.
Well, I just stuck in there for later. It's very painful for them. Because they can't
It
accept
doesn't have
reality.
to be.
I like how they always project their pain onto us. You bamboozled me! No, you're in cognitive dissonance. But nice that you can blame it on me.
So the guy who says nobody claims Earth curve is a horizon says you bamboozled them?
Yeah. Bamboozled is a projection of I'm in cognitive dissonance holding a position that Earth curves blocking these boats and buildings in the distance in my image with comparative horizons with a label that says this is Earth curve, while I declare openly and boldly on 3 separate occasions that nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Hold on, you've bamboozled me. No. You're just in cognitive dissonance. You're holding 2 different positions, aren't you now? Physical, blocking buildings, and non-physical, nobody claims that it's physical. Yeah, those are 2 very contrasting positions you're holding there.
So a guy shows up to a flat Earth debate show with pictures and diagrams and pointy things, lines, arrows, saying it is, and then says you bamboozled them. That's why he did it?
Nope, just cognitive dissonance. Very amusing. Oh, what a day. This you mentioned before, Flatsoid. If a plate contains your food, how can you eat it? what about the steam? What about the hot steam coming off your roast potatoes? Is your plate containing that? Oh no, it's not. It's expanding in all directions. Fill available space it has to fill.
In an open container.
No, steam. You use steam like gravy.
Oh, so it doesn't go down in one vector.
There's this girl on 24/7. She's new. I forget her name. But she says her and her brother get into it about gravity, and he drops something, and she lights an incense. And says, "Where's homegirl gravity now?"
Did what? I missed that. She did what? He dropped something and she did what?
He lit an incense.
Oh, she lit a joss stick. I love it.
Yeah. Because, the smoke,
Yeah. No, I get it now. I just didn't know what you said. Excellent. Yeah, we'll boil a kettle. It is so simple, but it's probably taken 2 years for this to become as simplistic as it is now for us to just chuckle about it, right? No, I don't think anybody would deny that when you're first wrapping your head around it, simplicity isn't necessarily your ally when dealing with people who are in cognitive dissonance and a well-established rhetoric that's being asserted doggedly, regardless of your contradicting points that you put across. Now, the fact that it's met with such vitriol and such passion from the other side can sometimes question your own very simple explanation for something that isn't actually occurring, in this case, gravity. You can question that, right? Even though it's simple, even though it's obvious. You go, well, is it true? Is it the much more complicated double-speak contradicting point that they're really, really forcibly telling me it is? Even though I understand something that's completely contrary to that and much more simple and
Nathan,
doesn't
but
contradict itself?
that's part of the modus operandus, the trickstery of the globe model, because as you've shown before, how many horizons do they have labeled horizon when there's only one? And so then when the baller comes on the show, he's under the impression that more learned people know that there's like 7 horizons, and so we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we only have one horizon, and the horizon in the globe Earth model is physical and geometric. So if the horizon we have isn't that, then it isn't that. It's really that simple. The horizon in the Earth curve globe model / is not the horizon we see in physical reality. It's not the same. Now they can say, well, we've got lots of horizons. No, we haven't. We've got one. It's just not your physical geometric sphere, Ed. You claim blocks, boats and buildings with its physicality, like a hill getting in the way. Because that's essentially what it must be. A physical hill getting in the way of things in the distance. And it isn't. It moves with the weather. The horizon's not physical. They need it to be. It just isn't. Now, inventing several other horizons to distract from the one that we have not being physical isn't going to work either. Worked till now, though, eh? Till we looked into it.
Well, there's something even more obvious. They say that the sun's rays come in parallel because it's so far away. But every time we look at the sun through the clouds, or it shows a diverging pattern, it never looks like it's coming in parallel. So with your eyes, you see it's not what they say it is. But because that's what they say it is, and it has to be that way for the globe model, you say, I don't believe my eyes.
Yeah, now look up a diagrammatic explanation for their eclipse in a heliocentric world. Tell me that the light's coming in straight.
Well, look at those clouds and sun videos I put up the other day. You can clearly see the sun rays are not from a sun that's set underneath.
Yeah, I saw those. So are you talking about the umbra and the penumbra there, Nathan?
Yeah, dig out a pictorial explanation for that and see what they claim the light rays are doing in that example. Are they going straight?
Yes, I know. I saw that. That's a good one.
It is good because it's like, oh, they're all going straight. All right, it's just perspective when we look at them converging, is it? All right, interesting how you've got angular sizes and perspective for explanations for things in the sky, and yet when we look at something on the ground, it's attributed a feet and inches or meters value that doesn't change with distance, excluding all aspects of perspective. Isn't that interesting? And the thing that's claimed to cause it to disappear is a physical obstruction, like a hill getting in the way, that they call Earth curve. And yet the horizon, the thing we actually experience, definitely isn't physical. Hey, Brian. Just in time to not annoy me by trying to get in while I'm doing the intro. Brian?
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
Good to have you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I do.
Hello.
I do. I'll hustle a few people off mute in Discord and then I'll hit the live button. Arwin I can forgive for joining late because he has his own show and there is a potential overlap. You know, he starts at 12, finishes at 2, I start at 2, so if he goes over by a couple of minutes, fair enough. But we'll mention to him if he joins today. Look, just wait till the intro's over.
Yeah, sorry, I've done that twice, I think, and it's only after I did it that I go, hang on, that's going to be annoying.
When did Alvin do a 2-hour show?
It's just started, which is good for me because it means I get to catch the beginning of it now. So ARWIJN, check it out. It's Flat Earth Early Bird Show. Goes out at, as I say, 12 midday UK time and finishes at 2 PM just before the debate starts. Be here or be sphere on the Arwin channel. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Brian's Logic, Eli, Flatzoid, Paul and Sleeping Warrior, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Here we go.
Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Hello. And get it right, Arwin has been courteous enough to join after the introduction, so thank you very much indeed, Arwin, and good to have you too.
Hello.
Good to have you.
Yo.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve?
It's optical, but you can think of it as physical.
Yeah. Wait, the sphere edge horizon is optical.
Eli's
How
causing
does
a load
that-
of background noise. Say that again, Arwin.
How is the physical sphere edge apparent? That doesn't make any sense.
Apparent means you can see it.
Yeah, but shouldn't it be physical?
Yeah, a physical apparent means you can see it and it's a physical point that would block it, like a hill.
But does this hill change? But doesn't this hill keep changing?
Yeah, the horizon we experience doesn't stay in a fixed location with its geometry like a hill does. It's non-physical. Apparent, yeah, you can see it, but non-physical. You know, it changes with the weather. The globe side tell us how it's refracted. Unfortunately, they don't appreciate that their refraction involves having a physical horizon to derive a refraction value from with its R value. But we'll brush past that.
Yeah, but they even say it's where the sky meets the Earth, or the appearance of that.
Where the sky appears to meet the Earth. The sky does not meet the Earth. It just appears to. That's why it's apparent. But it's not physical, it's not an edge, it's not a hill getting in the way. Earth curve doesn't exist in anything beyond the mathematics of Earth curve. It's not real. We don't live on a sphere. Earth is obviously and observably flat.
Yeah, that's right, Nathan. The sky is not actually meeting the Earth. It just appears that way.
Ergo, apparent. Physical things can be apparent. You can see the top of a hill getting in the way of things behind the hill. That's what they claim Earth curve is, and they claim that the top edge of it, the edge that boats fall over, is the horizon. But horizons aren't a physical thing. You can have a physical horizon if a hill is before the point where things get too small to see. That would be a convergence point. So you can have things that get in the way of the horizon, creating a physical horizon. You can put something in front of you, like your hand, and create a horizon. That would be a physical horizon also. But a sphere edge, tangent point, with physicality at the horizon is not what we experience. The horizon is not physical. Any evidence?
People are still going into Ranty's show claiming a physical geometric location.
Oh, well, we debunked that with the black swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the black swan has demonstrated unequivocally that the horizon is beyond, in that example, 10 miles when it should be 1.2. Therefore, it's not physical. And the response from the globe side is, it's refracted. Well, that's non-physical then. So, demolishment of the argument ensues, paradoxes ensue. That's the end of the globe assertion. We don't have a physical horizon. They need one. That's what the assertion we're on a globe starts with. the horizon being physical and boats being blocked by it as they fall over it. An edge. A sphere edge.
But nobody claims the curve to be a horizon.
Yeah, globe heads do. But when Tim Osman tells us that nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, the response is welcome to flat Earth, because absolutely they do. Your side think the horizon's a physical obstruction. Now, Tim did too prior to that moment. Welcome to flat Earth, Tim Osman. Nobody claims the horizon's Earth curve. It's absurd. Non-physical.
Well, if the horizon is not Earth curve, I don't know what is.
Nothing is. We don't have Earth curve. The thing is not existing in anything beyond the mathematics of a model that asserts that Earth could be sphere-shaped. We're not actually standing on a sphere. That's merely a philosophy that's been reified by a lot of people. And over time, they've taken that reification to another level, where they'll argue the toss about reality and physicality with non-physical locations like the horizon, being their fundy belief in Earth curve edges for boats to fall over. Coincidentally, they simultaneously claim that flat earthers have got a pizza pie going up through a sky vacuum with boats falling over it. Mainly because that's actually their argument for a sphere, boats falling over an edge they call a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, which is actually non-physical and can't block anything with its non-physicality. It's absurd.
Why would
Neil?
Why would?
Go on, Ted.
Thanks, Brian. Why would Neil deGrasse Tyson state that stuff is flat from, say, 120 or 150,000 feet, and yet the mathematics say at 1 foot it's got to be at 1.22 miles?
Because he's saying the horizon. That stuff is the horizon in his example, and he's saying you can't see the edge of the beach ball. So he's taking the model, which is being reified by way of a beach ball, and saying when you're a millimetre above it, you won't see the physical tangent point from that vantage point across that beach ball sphere. So it's got a beach ball obstruction, like a hill, physically getting in the way. And he's asserting that you can't see that physical sphere edge horizon from that altitude, leading the way for both flat earthers to argue about whether or not a non-physical location, that would be the horizon, should or shouldn't bend. Well, it's non-physical. Who cares what you say it should do at that altitude? It's not a physical location. That stuff is flat. Well, who cares? It's not a physical location to be bent. Even if it was, it wouldn't mean anything.
About 3/4 of what you said to me a few minutes ago is the current globe argument. Take out a few bits, and that's exactly their argument at the moment. Ask Tim Osman.
Yeah, they need an Earth curve edge, and they haven't got one anymore. It's game over, globe. When we told you, nearly 12 months ago, that this was the end of the globe model, it wasn't just empty words. It has become untenable. And the defence for the black swan is paradoxical.
Nathan, shouldn't it be the other way in physics, if I'm right about it? Like if you put a basketball right to my face to where it's right on my eyeballs, I'm not going to see any kind of curvature. But the further I get away from it, I could distinctly see it's a ball. So Neil deGrasse saying the higher you go, you can't see the ball.
I understand what you're saying. If the Earth was a sphere, as asserted, then his description would fall into the bracket of doublespeak, because obviously, as you raise in altitude off a spherical surface, it will become more and more spherical till you get what they claim is the blue marble image from space. Now, you've got to have a transition between that complete circle and a curved horizon they say is physical. Obviously, that transition takes place with altitude. So for him to say you can't see any difference with altitude, in the physical horizon he's making both sides assume has an edge-like nature to block things, then in his paradigm, you're saying it should absolutely curve more the higher you go. Yes, that's correct. But that, in my vernacular 2 seconds ago, is a physical sphere edge horizon, which we don't have in reality. That's the bottom line. His magic trick is to get you, the flat earthers, to say, no, it wouldn't be a bent physical horizon at that altitude, and the globe earthers say, yeah, it would. That's the actual argument. They'd say it'd be more bent the higher you go. That's what you're saying, right, 10th? He's saying the total opposite. No, it wouldn't be from that altitude. You wouldn't notice any difference. Well, according to their mathematics, it gets more bendy the higher you go. So that's absurd, but it all requires both sides to reify the horizon into a physical point, and then argue about if it's bent or not.
Yeah, well, exactly. Go on, Brian.
Go on. I was just going to
No,
say
but-
that how I read what Neil deGrasse Tyson did was he basically said you're not ever going to see the curve to stop people looking for it because he knows no one's ever going to find it because it's not there.
But if we lived on a beach ball and were looking over effectively a hill, a physical obstruction in the form of the edge of the beach ball, then it would always be there from any altitude. 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's what would give you that hill. And we don't have one. Earth's flat.
And stationary.
Any evidence of axial rotation?
Definite no.
Well, that's another one of those things. They're saying in the same way that the Earth is spinning, but there's no way to prove it because the only way to prove it is Earth-based Coriolis, and they can't do it.
Yeah, they defend the fact they don't have it by telling us how little that we would expect to see this claim they make. Again, in the bracket of doublespeak. We wouldn't expect to see 15 degrees an hour deviation. Whatever gave you that idea? Well, your claim that we would have it on the globe side, proving we spin. That's what gave me the idea. Why are you defending it and saying that we spin with the atmosphere, giving us no observable Coriolis deviation, being no different to a stationary, observably flat and motionless plane, compared to your claim that everything's spinning along with an Earth that you presuppose is spinning? There'd be no discernible difference between the two. So let's argue all day and confuse the audience. No, you claim there's 15 degrees an hour. Deviation. So let's see things deviating. What's that you say they don't? Well, then we've not got a proof of spin.
Well, I'm in discussion with a university. I don't know if you know, there was a few students last year where they shot the rocket up past the Kármán line, and the rocket came back down to practically where they shot it off with. So I mean, tell me, if Earth was spinning underneath it and they left Earth's atmosphere, which is to the Kármán line, you could say, how would they be claiming it's still moving with the Earth?
It isn't.
And,
that also violates the first law of thermodynamics. Second law of thermodynamics.
Second, yeah.
Flatzoid, how fast per second in meters is the Earth moving if it's moving?
About 460. It's a fast, very fast.
So
At
when
your
the rocket
location.
went up and the duration of time until it came down, and it's almost near from where they launched it, right?
Exactly. And I mean, what was like 118 kilometers up?
Well, the Felix Baumgartner jump, the Red Bull, if you take the Earth's rotation, if the Earth was rotating, which it's not, he should have been in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, he was what, about 3 hours up, 37 k's or something.
I think under 60 miles or something less than that, or 30 miles, I can't remember. But still in the state of New Mexico is what I'm saying. But if the Earth was moving at the speed that say the Earth is moving, the Pacific Ocean would have come under him by the time he came down.
Just for audience clarity, it is claimed Earth turns underneath things not attached at 15 degrees an hour. Ergo, from the ground, they appear to drift. Not that because, in the example given, not because you've got something whizzing away at 400 meters per second, but because that item's travelling up, straight line, and you're moving underneath it according to the claim that we have Coriolis effect. So things should drift away from your vantage point at 15 degrees an hour. Now, if that was occurring, Felix Baumgartner would have landed in a different state. In fact, he'd have landed in the ocean.
Yeah. Just think how nice it would have. Just think how nice it would have been for us if it was like this to go travel somewhere. It'd be much quicker to get anywhere. You're just gonna quickly hop on a hot air balloon and go to the next country.
Correct. Flight times debunk the idea that Earth is turning underneath things that aren't attached, because a Charlotte, North Carolina flight to LA, which takes 4.5 hours in reality, would only take an hour and a half, because Earth would be turning underneath it at 800 miles an hour. Combine that with the air travel speed, and you've got an hour and a half flight time, because Earth's turning underneath the plane, according to their claim that we see things drift because we're turning underneath them. That's Coriolis effect. They claim we have it. We just don't experience it.
Go on, Brian.
I would just Yeah, I think I have to just let you know that when Annie mentioned the Kármán line or anything above what they call the stratosphere, I have to call that into question, as there was absolutely no evidence for anything past about 40 to 50 kilometers. Okay?
Yes, they've got these homogeneous layers which they arbitrarily assign with these names, like the Kármán line. Stratosphere. Sphere, you say? Oh, we'll come back to that. So, yeah, they've got these arbitrary positions, and half of them, as Brian's saying, he doesn't even think they've ever gone beyond a certain height, and therefore, how can they ever arbitrarily assign anything?
Well, after high altitude balloon, let's say max altitude, which is depending on who's doing it. If it's NASA, maybe 40 to 50 kilometers. After that, they only have sounding rockets, and sounding rockets fly off out into an entropy violation called space, and do a load of stuff, and then they drop their payload back down to NASA or whatever space agency is doing it. So after high altitude balloons, there was only space agencies.
Right. And we know they're lying through their back teeth because, as you've already pointed out, they're travelling to somewhere that doesn't exist. So if the place they're travelling to and dropping payloads back from exists, then we wouldn't have any gas to breathe. We'd all be dead because it would be a vacuum, and we have high pressure gas here that we're all breathing. So the gas we're all breathing, the high pressure gas we like filling our lungs with, would all dissipate into that area of low pressure, called a vacuum in their claim, the most powerful vacuum known to man, outer space. Well, it's not. That's just a complete lie, because we wouldn't have any gas to breathe. Any evidence you can have gas pressure at all without a container?
No. Can I leave a last comment on the last subject? Good. We've all done it. Said to somebody, hey, I'll meet you at the midway point. So if someone lives 2 hours away from me, I got to drive an hour, they got to drive an hour. That's the midway point. If we went up in the air, the Earth is that other person meeting us at the midway point. It would be coming towards us, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Like the example with Charlotte to LA, if you've got Earth travelling underneath the plane, it's going to radically reduce flight times, and it doesn't. Because Earth's not turning underneath them. It's just that simple. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon. In other words, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill the space. Any evidence that would in any way contradict that second law of thermodynamics claim?
Well, Nathan, I can with 100% fact tell you it's not a sky vacuum, because we do have gas pressure, and gas pressure needs containment.
Correct. Yeah, we know the sky's not a vacuum, debunking any claims that have come from there. So if they claim they've got pictures from the sky vacuum, outer space, immediately disregard them as not true. Easily. It's like claiming you've got pictures from Narnia. No, you haven't. You've got pictures from a set you called Narnia. Likewise with space, whatever they claim has come from that area is a lie, because that area isn't real. We'd all be dead if it was.
Well, Nathan, you just covered horizon. That doesn't match what they say. Then Earth-based Coriolis, that doesn't match what they say. And now we got gas pressure without a container, which is an impossibility, and it doesn't match what they say. So that's 0 for 3 for them.
Yeah, that's the top 3 globe killers. So you can't have gas pressure without a container. The sky is not a vacuum. Automatically debunking all claimed pictures and travel into that region because it's not real. So any claims of pictures from space automatically debunked. The sky is not a vacuum. We have no Earth-based Coriolis effect. That's things deviating, drifting away from you at whatever rate the Earth is claimed to be turning underneath that item if it leaves the surface of the Earth. Exampled by Neil deGrasse Tyson's claim that a football drifted through the goalposts because Earth turned underneath it. Well, if that effect was true, we'd have shortened flight times. We don't. Earth isn't turning. It would exhibit the Coriolis effect, as they claim it does. We don't observe the effect, therefore we are not spinning. And last but by no means least, but by far and away the greatest debunking of any globe claim, is the claim that we're on a sphere to begin with. That would be we have a spherical surface beneath our feet, and that would put every distance to horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, at the physical obstruction point they call a tangent they measure to give them r. And the black swan shows that the horizon is not physical by concession of their own side. The globe side makes it plainly obvious the horizon is not physical, undoing any claim of physical obstruction at the horizon caused by an Earth curve geometric sphere edge, formerly known as our horizon, now just a assertion in maths. Earth curve only exists in the maths. So the black swan debunks Earth curve. Coriolis effect debunks the assertion that we're turning, and the sky vacuum is fake. That's the top 3 demolitions of the assertion that we stand on this philosophical model that's been reified by the majority of the Western world, called the heliocentric model, aka the globe. From excellent globe destruction to the farcical assertions that go alongside it. Any evidence that we have a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, this is actually interesting, Nathan. Have you ever seen cave explorers before?
Yeah.
You know, the deeper they go, the colder it gets, not hotter. Wouldn't it get hotter if you get close to your old molten iron core?
No,
yeah,
that's supposed to be much, much deeper.
Yeah, much deeper.
But I mean, if you're getting closer to a heat source, it's supposed to get hotter, isn't it? Not colder.
But it doesn't all rise through everything, you know? It depends. If it's in solid rock tends to kind of fend it off a little. So, I don't know, I'm just...
You're defending
some places it's hot
nonsense,
down there, others it's not so hot down there. So
to be fair, the official reason why the Kola Super Deep borehole stopped drilling in the mid-90s, they said it was because the excessive temperatures was basically melting the blade tips that were digging, and every time they tried to dig into this like plasma stuff at the bottom, it was just reforming, and they couldn't dig any deeper because it was too hot. So there must be a molten iron core.
Plasma.
I'm not sure about that. I thought it was because of this viscous or honey-like substance that the drill bits kept getting hot because
That's what I said.
of that. No, but you said it was too hot down there.
It was too hard. It couldn't get through. There was no sign of hotness or melting, as far as you know. There was hydrogen mud. That's what they got out.
I think Arwen is on point there.
Yeah, but meanwhile, they predicted that they'd be hitting water or something stupid at that point, right?
Well, they said there wouldn't be any water, and they found water a lot deeper than what they ever thought there would be possible. But no, it definitely did say it when they were digging that it was getting too hot. I'll get you some references.
Yeah, but
either way,
is,
that's not molten iron core proof. Go ahead, Brian. That's not molten iron core proof, is all I'm going to say. Go ahead.
No, all I was saying is that Nathan's point is correct. All their supposed predictions were wrong. There was 4 main predictions, and they were all wrong.
Well, not only were they wrong on 4, we don't have a sphere for them to have a molten iron core to go to.
Correct. It's presupposition in the first instance. That's the way to cut the head off it, at least, 10th man. Well done. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Can you have a distance to a non-tangible object that keeps moving?
Some say you can. Some say so, yeah.
You mean the angle towards the visual keeps changing? There's nothing actually moving, you see? Moving implies like physical motion in a Euclidean sense.
Yeah, it's apparently moving, though, isn't it?
The sun is definitely moving.
Apparently.
Well, we don't know.
Apparently moving is what Arwen's driving at. That's the word. Apparently, it is moving, Arwen. Apparently.
Right.
Well, if the sun's not moving, we have to be.
I
don't see any Coriolis effect involving the Earth as the non-inertial reference frame. So it has to be the sun that moves, whatever it is.
Yes, at 15 degrees an hour, it has a transit, and that's what makes a 24-hour day and night.
Isn't that a visually obvious statement to make? From my vantage point, it is clear and observably obvious that the apparent movement of the sun takes place. That no one could ever argue against. So to take that notion and say, well, actually, it's you moving, but because you're part of the non-inertial spinning reference frame, you don't notice that you're causing that movement as you and everything around you moves. That's absurd.
I'd be better off saying it was a light in the sky and that thing is in the sky and the sky's moving. I'd be better off saying that than saying I'm moving.
But that would at least have some logic behind it, because when you see some of the star movements, at least at first blush, you could infer that, right?
I don't know. It might have come forth from relativism thinking. It's all relative. So that could be moving, or you could be moving. That sort of mechanical way of thinking, thanks to Einstein, still does that.
You can do demonstration.
It came from going from geocentric to heliocentric, and it was moving when we were geocentric, but when we went to heliocentric, we're moving now.
And why not? It's only a philosophy.
I have some talk on the stars, but I guess I'll wait.
No, go ahead. Feel free.
Well, I mean, I don't really have it all there put together, but remember, because we're on a sphere, we have this assumption that the stars are all around us, all around that sphere, that is, right?
Well, I don't, but yeah.
We have no reason to believe that there are stars above us during the day. What reason is there?
Well, there isn't, apparently, and obviously not. But they do still hang around. I've certainly seen the morning star hang around for a lot longer than it should in the blue sky. But the bit that I'm going to focus on is more the fact that you said, why would you infer or assume that when you travel south, what was and is above your head is still above your head, but actually below where you started, antipodal from your first position? Why would you infer or assume that? It's absurd to assume that the stars, when you move south towards the horizon and are still above your head when you arrive there, are actually antipodal from when you first started. That's a stupid thing to assume, if you ask me. Why would you assume it?
Stutter for me, bitch.
Say again?
Stutter for me, bitch.
Talking to me?
You stuttered then. I just wanted to say.
Oh, right.
But that's a really weird thing to say, Tony.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not like I'm being pinned against the wall by a fundy right now.
What?
I said, it's not like I'm being pinned against the wall by a fundy and I'm experiencing cognitive dissonance. You know, when somebody's saying...
I've always wanted to say it. Stutter for me, bitch.
Yeah, I say it when they haven't got to come back after declaring their contradicting position, as opposed to just detailing something that I haven't got the right word for. Oh, there you go, another stutter.
Yeah. Can I present my screen, Nathan, please?
You can. Go ahead.
This is one of the citations. Now, I'm not relying on this because I'm not saying this is true. This is just a supporting citation. There are many of them like it, but this is just one. This Atlas Obscura website, you can find this just by typing in some keywords on Google. They claim in this document that if you go down to one of these articles here, it says, while data produced by the Kohler drilling project continues to be analysed, the drilling itself was forced to stop in the early 1990s when unexpectedly high temperatures were encountered. So it seems to suggest that they stopped drilling because they couldn't get it beyond a certain depth because of the temperature. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a molten iron core, and it doesn't even mean it's true just because this website's citing it. I'm just saying that when I researched this last time, I looked into it, this was the reason I understood for why they stopped, because it did actually get pretty hot down there, and it kept blunting their drilling bits. But take of it from whatever you want. I'm not saying it's definitely true. I'm just supporting it.
Thanks for that.
Okay. But where's the hydrogen mud coming from then?
So when I use a drill bit,
citation.
When I use a drill bit here on the top of the surface of their supposed sphere, and it's going through wood, metal, it doesn't matter. It gets hot too.
Yeah, because I guess the heat would be caused by the friction of trying to drill through very, very dense rock. Obviously, there's a lot of weight. Mass support like on top of it. So I'm assuming that maybe you could argue that the friction heat was all that was the heat. So just because it says it's hot down there doesn't mean it's coming from a molten iron core. That's a good point.
And not only that, but it's a tight drill. It's a tight hole, and it's very far down, and you don't have any oxygen around to cool it. Whereas the one on top here, I have air all around, and it still gets hot with friction.
Can you just do me a favor?
Also, I got to...
Sorry, Elijah.
I just have to point out that they did say that it was a viscous type substance that kept filling in on itself as they kept drilling.
That's true. That's true. It said that there was. I'll carry on reading. It says, beyond this point, the rock had greater porosity and permeability, which, paired with the high temperatures, caused the rock to behave more like a plastic than a solid, and made drilling near impossible. So whatever's going on down there, we have really no idea. But you can think it's a ball if you want to.
Can you present your screen?
That's what I
again?
wanted to comment on, Tony.
Sorry,
those two.
Sorry, Adam. Can you present your screen again, just so we can have it on screen while you're discussing it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go on, Ethan, what were you saying?
Well, there was only those 2 points in there, and obviously, before drilling the super deep borehole, we had our PNS waves, which enabled us to build a model to give us these predictions. And if you look at the two most basic things within a very short distance, the first point is that they were 80% out on their estimations of the temperature, so they're thinking about 100, and actually the density of the rock as they got bigger, they guessed it would go one way, it would be more dense, and actually it was less dense. So not much of a model if the two predictions were one the polar opposite and the other 80% out.
Yeah, they made 4 predictions. Seismology predicted 4 things that they would predict, that they would get when they were digging. And one of them was that there would be an increase in density in the rock, but they actually found at a certain depth there was a decrease in the density. And for some reason, seismology did not see that. So that was one side. There was another one to do with water would only be to a certain depth. But when they actually dug down, it was like way deeper than what they ever thought it would be. And obviously they claimed that it had like dinosaur DNA in there, obviously, because it obviously indicates that it's a lot older. There was another one to do with, I can't remember the 4 claims. There were 4, and they got all 4 wrong. So seismology wasn't particularly useful when it came to this. But here's the boiling hydrogen mud one. Boiling with hydrogen. Researchers also reported that the extraction of mud, which was boiling with hydrogen. Now, I don't know how hydrogen would stay trapped down there, because obviously it's a constituent element in water, but for some reason the hydrogen's trapped down there and it's creating presumably pressure, and then it boils off when it comes up. Anyway, large quantities of hydrogen at these depths were completely unexpected. So shout out to seismology that failed to anticipate that boiling hydrogen mud would be coming out of the hole.
It's weird. I'm just thinking about it. Maybe there was some sort of radioactivity going on down there. That typically also create hydrogen